Hello and welcome to the Wise Wire this lovely Friday morning. I am joined by Tim Weaver, the brand weaver, and I don't know where this is going to go. I genuinely, we met, we talked, we didn't stop laughing, and I'm still laughing now. So really, honestly, enough about me. Brand weaver.
Good morning. How's it going, Kirsty? Are you well?
I am actually. I'm really looking forward to going. Do you know, I'm looking forward to Christmas. I'm looking forward to the holidays, and I'm looking forward to not working.
Dude, I'm right up there with you. I think Christmas time is my favorite time because most people stop, right? You know, you can take a summer holiday or an Easter break, but you've got other people working and things around you. But Christmas, it's a complete stop, and everyone goes, finally, let's relax and let's get lost in those random days between the 25th and New Year's Day as well. No one knows what on earth's going on, but at least you're all in this wonderful magic of calm and serenity, at least in my opinion, until it goes mental in the new year again.
So tell me, because I know you, and one of the things someone was asking me about you, and I said, well, I'm quite corporate with what I do, and then Tim's the other side, and actually, what's really lovely is we meet in the middle, and what we can create together is really powerful. So I'd like you to explain about your branding, what you do, and your journey, how you got to where you are, because it's absolutely fascinating.
That's a big old can of worms to open up, but we've got a bit of time, so let's dive on in. So yeah, introductions, that's probably normally how you start one of those things, and I dived in straight into saying how I like the gap between Christmas and New Year. I am Tim. I am the owner and founder of the Brand Weaver Agency. They're a strategy, design, and consultancy agency based in wonderful Buckinghamshire. We work with the likes, well, disruptors, or those who want to be a little bit more edgy, a bit more rebellious in their marketing and, well, mainly their branding. And that might be tattoo-related paraphernalia, barbecues, drinks and spirits, beers and spirits, comic books, all that wonderful stuff. So that's a little bit of background about the Brand Weaver. And it was set up just coming up to a year ago now. My personal journey was I was a creative director of an agency for 14, nearly 15 years. And the agency was very niche. Like they were awesome. We had an amazing team. It was a team of around about 60 people, worked all over the globe, but only working with the independent school market. And so I would rub shoulders with the headmaster of Harrow or Repton or Harvard Westlake out in the USA, which, as I can see you grinning there, it's not me. I'm the guy who's got tattoos and beard and ear piercings versus this very high caliber alpha male, very different kind of person. And after that time, I went, it was great. It was great. I saw the world. I had wonderful experiences. I grew a phenomenal team. But it was kind of my golden handcuffs in a way. And I took a pause and I went, well, I could carry on doing this. I love the team I work with. The work has reached a point. I've done it. What do I do? And it was the only logical or most fulfilling step was to start something of my own baby, which was, of course, the Brand Weaver. And dude, I've not looked back. It has been a phenomenal year, meeting incredible, beautiful, talented people such as your fine self and many other people. And it's just been glorious.
Loving the compliment. And I'm just going to turn around and say we started this live perfectly because you started the conversation, you planted the seed. We were going to talk about branding, but actually we talked about Christmas. So we've done the typical thing of hooking the customer in. So I'm going to turn around and say, nailed it.
Boom.
Because that's what you do, right? You're not just, it's not, people always think of branding and they think of colours. They think of the logo, the colours, and they forget actually branding is a lot more than that. And I wondered if you could, rather than me on my soapbox, I thought you could explain it.
I'd be happy to, and I'd love to. Tell me to tell me to slow down if I need to, because I get carried away and quite emotional in a positive sense about this. But in my mind, branding is not your logo. Okay, a logo is this wonderful thing that sits at the end of the process. It's a visual identity. A brand, one of the most famous phrases is the brand or your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so a brand is your language, how you talk, what you say, your touch points. It is this full experiential approach ultimately. And a logo or a color is merely an addition to that. It is part of the puzzle. It is by no means the whole puzzle and whole picture. And I think one of the big reasons I moved away from the agency is that it was obviously very niche, but equally, sorry, I've got, oh, excuse me. Equally, it was very one way. So the heads of the schools would have a vision. They knew what they wanted to bring to life for their brand, but they weren't really considering other aspects of the market. As the brand weaver, I feel it's so important to work with what I like to call brand alchemy. There are like these 3 elements that you must combine in any which way in order to create a successful brand. And naturally, that is what you are awesome at, but equally important, what your audience is looking for. Genuinely, why do they come to you? Why do they use your service, your product? And then the third part is your competition, because you don't want to be the same as your competition by any means, but you need to know what they're saying, what they're doing, so you stand out from them. And it's within that wonderful triangle, that brand alchemy, that a brand can manifest, and it becomes purpose, mission, vision, values, brand messages, touch points, content. It's just this wonderful bucket of lovely brandy stuff, which doesn't even have a logo attached to it yet. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. I love it. Do you need a glass of water?
Yeah, I was just looking at my bottle going, yeah, I'll be okay.
Go for it. Thank you, because that's where we met and we started talking, and it was like, oh my God, yes. And it's really important. I think people get so caught up thinking, I've got to get my branding sorted, and yet they haven't fixed the back stuff. And I always say that I do the icing on the cake, but actually I do a lot more than that. I do a real in-depth strategy to make sure that what you say is actually what you do, and it will communicate and connect with your audience. And on a personal note, I rebranded the YouTube channel, and the first person who saw that was you, because I wanted to stand out. And I looked at all the thumbnails on there, and they were good, and they're great, and they get that clickbait. But I needed something that was like me, but softer, so that when you come to mine, and a friend of mine described it as, I come to your branding and I go, I can breathe. And of course, for me, the most important thing that I'm talking about is controlling your breath. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And that's why I love working with you. I've really got to say it. I love it, because that's where the symbiosis really comes in.
And you're a deep breath, and I'm a rocket up the bum, ultimately.
No, I'm the Tasmanian devil. Surely everyone knows how fast I am. Have you met me?
I meant more from a shock factor, like, oh, I didn't see that coming kind of thing, and now I'm sky high.
I would go with that, yeah, definitely. You are definitely, and that's what I really love about it, is you've got this really strong brand identity. Mine's a little bit softer, but the key messages and the strap lines and everything that we talk about is absolutely aligned, and that's where I think it's really powerful. But enough about work.
Oh, go on, I like it.
I know you like it, but I want to talk about Tim the person. You've got a agency in Buckinghamshire. You've been going about a year. You're rocking it. That's one of my phrases. It works with you as well. So you left the agency. Where before the agency were you? What were you doing?
Okay, so I've always been a creative little monkey. Since I had hair, which I don't now, hence I wear the cap, and that becomes part of the brand. So since I was a young boy, I loved sketching, doodling. My mum was very proud when I won the first ever kind of sidewalk painting competition in a local town. It was a rabbit. It wasn't that great, but a mother's love goes deep, so that's wonderful. And then I got into music. I'm an extremely passionate musician. I love drumming. I've drummed for 25 years now. And so I joined bands. I played drums for metal bands. I toured Europe. We released CDs and albums. There's one that's actually just been re-released on Spotify, so people can check that out if they want to give me a shout later on. And then being in a band, it was like the the passion for creativity and art was amplified because not only do you create music, but you need merchandise, you need logos, you need a poster, you need a website or a MySpace page or whatever it was at that particular time. And I was like, great, let's give it a go. And so, you know, I've told many people that my career started because I managed to pirate Photoshop when I was like 16 years old. Don't come at me, Adobe. I pay my license now. I'm a good boy, I promise. But, you know, things like just playing and learning with that. I then went, oh, okay, so maybe I need a proper education. So university, studied multimedia and all that. And during that time, and I've talked about it before, the most valuable thing that I did was I paired my university studies with a junior design role at an agency. So I did 3 days at uni, 2 days at the agency, which was phenomenal because it kind of skyrocketed my experience in terms of branding and design. And then left university, was still doing the band stuff as well, but obviously got into an agency and worked my way up from that point on, you know, junior design, mid, senior, creative director, jumped through a couple of agencies to make what I am now, which is the wonderful bearded boy who likes to create beautiful things that stand out. But, you know, just to kind of circle back on the job thing and what you're saying about we have the symbiosis, because I didn't want to leave it, is one of the really important things is the baseline is authenticity. You know, neither of us are here pretending to be something that we're not. I mean, in many cases, we might have turned up to 11, a certain aspect of our personality, but it is authenticity. So I genuinely am like this on camera and off. You know, the same for yourself, right? You're just an awesome, chilled, calm, you know, woman with a bit of Tasmanian flair to you. And I think that's really, really important with a brand. It's authenticity, because people hate being sold to. They hate being marketed to. You know, the cheesy car salesman, it just makes everyone feel all icky. And so that is what I think is a really valuable connecting thread between you and I as well. So yeah, went off tangent, but let's come back again.
No, but I think that's really, really true. I think there's a lot of people out there that think you have to sell, and I don't think. I'm going to say Stephen Taylor here. He and I were having coffee one day. So he runs Froster Engineering, or Fire and Security Engineering. There's a lot of. It's a great company, and we were talking. And one day he just said to me, "After my old job at Hanwha, he went, you've never sold anything to me." And at this point, he was one of my most important customers. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I think you're right. Because I've always wanted to solve the problem. I've never wanted to sell anything. And yet I worked for many years in sales. Because for me, it was about, and we always talk about it in sales and marketing, but it's two of these. But so much of our life is spent with one of them covered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I talked about this with Ant a couple of weeks ago about active listening. And you know, as I'm listening to you now, I'm not looking at you, I'm listening to hear what you're saying and the authenticity. So I can actually have a conversation with you rather than having my own agenda. And I think that's how we both approach with our customers. It's not our agenda, it's about the customer's problem.
Massively. I couldn't agree more. I mean, and this is, like I say, it comes back to that triangle of branding. Like, you have to listen. If you're going to do a job like you or I do, you're merely a conduit. You have to like evoke and just be a big old sponge, you know, for everything that you're being told. And if you're there sat with an ego going, oh, I already know the answer, it's fine, blue, smashed it, see you later, here's my check, it's not going to work. Like, you've genuinely got to sit there and absorb it so you can do something really powerful with it.
So you've talked about the career, you've talked about music, you've talked about where you've been and how you've got and where you are today. Have there been many, and there will be, aha moments where you've gone, aha, or you've had that moment where you've gone, oh?
To tick off the situation, like, I'm going to be brutally honest, as the brand weaver, there hasn't been a head in hands moment. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that, but equally, I know that there will be one on the horizon. Something will come, and almost knowing that something will happen has made me comfortable with that, or at least I feel comfortable with that. You never know, it might happen, and I'll be like, Kirsty, it's happened. It's all gone horribly wrong. Save me. But until that point, I'm feeling pretty calm and chill about the whole thing. But on the positive side, the aha moments. I recorded a video about this the other day, that I think going into the Brand Weaver, I did as much preparation as possible. Obviously, I'd learned so much on my journey leading up to that, had phenomenal mentors that I found online, met incredible people who were willing to help coach and provide advice. But you're still only ever going to be like, I don't know, 70% towards having a complete package until you're kind of out there and doing what you hope to do. And then it was those moments where people start to go, oh, that's interesting. Or I've never heard someone say something like that before. Or that's an interesting, I've not seen it like that before. That the aha moments start to drop where I'm going, right, cool. These are things that I can start to take and maybe put that a little bit more emphasis on that piece, or really drive those things through. And equally, just coming back to authenticity and the power of brand, it is very much your vibe attracts your tribe, and it has worked for the Brand Weaver, and I genuinely think it's been a phenomenal thing. As I say, I'm sat here loving metal music, loving my barbecue, covered in tattoos, used to enjoy a drink. And who do I work with now? Metal bands, leading UK barbecue enthusiasts, tattoo products, breweries. It's just phenomenal. And there was no direct intent to go out there and work with these people, but magically they get pulled to you, or you get pulled to them.
And I think that's absolutely right. There was the rebrand that I did a year and a half ago, and up to that point I just wasn't communicating properly. I was, and it was all there, but it was very corporate, and I will, but that's because I've been in the corporate world, and that was quite normal. And then somebody grabbed me, Kayla, and went, "What are you doing?" And I remember the question. So she did what I do to my clients, and it was like, "Ow, that really hurts." And she went, "But you do this to your clients, so I'm not going to stop." And I remember thinking, this actually, it's quite sometimes it's a painful process, because you've got to drop some of the stuff that you really truly believe. And when you work with someone like you, you know that dropping, that slothing, that getting rid of it is really important. So thank you for sharing that. Got another question? Of course I have. Who's inspired you along the way?
So many people. Like I talked about online mentors. There are phenomenal people, and I think actually this has been one plus side of COVID, that everyone has been so very forthcoming with providing value online through that time. And that was the transitional period as I start to build up the Brand Weaver. So there are incredible people online, like a gentleman called Mike Jander, who used to run an agency, now runs the Jander Academy, just providing so much value to agency owners because he's tread the boards and did massive things. You've got Made by James, who's a phenomenal brand designer, very open, very transparent about pricing models. There are so many people. Like, obviously, as soon as you get put on the spot and go, name some people, you go, no, I've forgotten them all. But I think from online, there's a massive source of people, but equally the networking side of things, you bump into people who will just give you little nuggets, and you don't necessarily know how valuable those little nuggets are until you've taken them away and pondered on them a little bit as well. So sitting down, or a little connection, or chatting about a particular problem, just from other business owners, are hugely inspirational. And I think if you then get onto a deeper level, you've got kind of the maternal and paternal inspirations, where my dad was self-employed. He always grafted. And I think that on a base level has kind of gone, well, that's fine. You do that. I'm inspired by that from what he's gifted me, I suppose. So yeah, a whole host online, real people. Obviously real people are online as well. Digital presences, physical presences, and family.
So is it a year you've been going?
So it will be. So I started the Brand Weaver part-time in January. So this is, yeah. So this is the story. When I was transitioning out of the agency as creative director, I had a 6-month notice period, which it's a very long notice period, but equally it just shows how very important I am that people don't get rid of me that easily. But the owner, director, Mr. Simon Noakes, was a phenomenal guy. And equally, talk about mentors. He's someone who coached me for many, many years and gave me a lot of skills that I now bring to the table as the brand weaver. So we came to the agreement that I would work full-time for 3 months and then stretch out that final 3 months as part-time. So I would then mentor and coach one of my seniors into the creative director role, which he's doing incredibly well at now. He's still there. So, I mean, it's only been a year, so I'm glad he's still there. Otherwise, he would have really done a terrible job. And then, yeah, so as of January, I started to transition out. 2 days for brand weaver, then 3 days, and then full-time brand weaver. And here we are coming to the end of December.
Wow. So what's your biggest thing, the biggest thing you either learned or you've been your biggest challenge in your first year?
Oh, there's a lot. Okay, where do we start? The first one, like I said, I'm so happy that I've tested and proved that your vibe attracts your tribe. For me, I think that has been incredibly powerful. Another one is just knowing you don't know everything and you do not have everything knuckled down. Like, I can imagine the other people, or some people might go into the industry, into the branding world or design or anything visual or anything that has some kind of an identity, and they've got an ego. It's like, no, I know how to do this. They've got a big wafty scarf and they kind of make grunty noises. And, you know, it's the kind of archetypal creative director who just goes, but you can't do that, right? You have to go, I'm here to learn. I'm here to be a sponge. I'm here to be educated by people who have done this. So you have to remain open. I think communication has been such an essential part of where I've got to so far, and not having those head in hands moments, you know, to the point of over communicating with everyone that I work with, being so very organized. You know, I've been told I'm, you know, the brand weaver is a unicorn in that respect because we're an organized organized designer kind of thing, which you don't normally get. So I'm told. I'm sure there's many of you out there. If you're there, if you're listening, I don't mean to offend. So I think those are some of the key things that I've gone, right, okay, this is good. Oh, and the other one, marketing. That stuff's weird, right? Like, you go out there going, right, you have to market yourself. You have to sell your agency. Oh, right, okay, how do we do that? Well, you've got cold calling, you've got warm leads, you've got social ads. Oh, you've got to create content every 2 seconds. You've got to do long form. You've got to do short form content. You have to have lead magnets. You have to do face-to-face networking. You need a networking strategy. I'm going, blimey. All right. And we do it all. Brand Weaver does it all. But we're not sat here going, well, that one thing worked really, really well. We can double down on that. Because you get like little threads from each of them. And so that kind of really frustrates me when I see people online going, we gained 10,000 followers in just under 2 weeks by doing this one simple thing. And I'm like, toffee, did you? Absolutely empty.
Sorry, thank you for that one. Absolutely, and you're right. I love that last bit because I think about, I put a post up this week where I have got 70 plus videos, which are tips and tricks on YouTube. There are 72, in fact, more than that, it's like 98, nearly 100. Then there's 72 now episodes of The Wise Why. There are 6 lead magnets. There's 3 online courses coming. There are 17 blogs. There's then all the content on social media. And someone said to me, why do you do it all? And it's like, well, because I get things from everyone. And my last video I put out was all about the impressions, because a lot of my clients don't even like or comment. They then pick up the phone and go, I've been following you for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you get these people who shout down the lens, we can convert you, you can this, we're selling you this course. My course doesn't do this. We're going to sell you this course and you are going to then be a success. You're going to be a millionaire overnight. I can do the voice. Do you like that? And you're like,
I'm sold. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, it's like, no, that's total copy something. I'm not going to say that. It's just twaddle. And it's those marketeers that drive me nuts. So no, that's not how marketing works, or not from my point of view, and I don't think for yours either, does it?
No, it's about being, like you say, it's top of mind, isn't it, really? And there's the statistic that 90% of your audience are not in the position to work with with you when you're putting that content out. But rightly so, like you say, you do not know who's been watching you for a year, for 2 years, and finally that moment has come along where they've gone, Oh, of course, now is time. I've really wanted to work with Kirsty for a long time. I wanted to work with the brand weaver for a long time. And guys, now is the opportunity. And you've just got to be there. You've got to continue to give value, not in a way that you go, well, by me putting this out there, I'm immediately going to get something back. I actually really enjoy it now, where I've got friends and people who go, oh, hey, Branditos, which is kind of how I like start my videos when I start talking. And they're going, oh, it's phenomenal. It's awesome to see you. I've got some friends who go, dude, I'm fed up with it. Leave it out. I was like, well, don't follow the brand weaver. Follow my personal account, which is far more boring. But it's nice. Like, it's great because you know that brand piece is working. The personal brand is, and the whole agency is coming to life.
Launching this was the craziest, sorry, that's a bad word. Bad use of the word there. So I'm trying to be really good at not using negative words. So we all use them. So it was off the wall for me to launch a podcast because I always said I wouldn't. And yeah, it's one of the best decisions I ever made. And the amount of people who watch this and then I'll go somewhere and they're like, I love your podcast, but I'm not even aware that they've actually genuinely watched it because they haven't liked it, because they don't want to be seen. And this is what people forget. You're putting out the content. It takes 15 months minimum to churn social media. But the people who really like what you do don't necessarily want to be seen themselves. And so they're not going to comment because they're where you were 2 years ago, where you didn't like, well, I hated social media 3 years ago. I certainly didn't think I'd do the content I do now. In fact, I can remember saying to Lynn Woodgate, I'm coming off social media. And then 3 months later, I launched a business and launched on social media. And she went, I thought you were coming off it.
So, yeah. I mean, I think the way to look at it, or one, like an analogy is, if you think about a classroom setting and the teacher at the front is a piece of content, be it a blog, a podcast, a piece of Instagram content, or photo, video, whatever it might be. And you then have a classroom of, say, 30 kids, 30 students. 3 or 4 of them might raise their hand. They might interact with that teacher. Then you've got another, 15 of them. This is where I'm trying to do quick maths. It could go horribly wrong. Help me, Kirsty, if you've got a calculator. 15 of them are just there quietly listening and taking it on board. And then the remaining ones are the ones who genuinely aren't interested and not listening. So actually, there's that middle gap in the classroom who are there intently listening, noting it down, but they're not interacting with the teacher. Much like you say, your audience may not be interacting with your content. It doesn't mean they're not listening.
Brilliant. So this is where the tables turn. And I've been having you in the hot seat for 27 and a half minutes, and you get to turn around and ask me a question. So fill your boots, and I will do my best to answer.
Okay, so my little firecracker. Here we go. Because I've got obviously my own strong feelings about what people say, and I disagree with that. I think it can be done other ways. But is there a common piece of advice in the industry that, in our industry, that you disagree with, and why? Something that people go, well, that's gospel, it's got to be done. But you're like, no, that's not the way.
So I'm going to talk about video marketing, okay? Because everyone says you've got to go on camera. And I'm going to tell you, no, you don't. There are thousands of different ways of making content. In fact, AI, LinkedIn, wrote a video for a blog last week, and it was written by AI, and it was written about video marketing, and I got angry, and I had to really, really pull back my response. You do not need to spend a fortune on video marketing. You will spend, if you want to work with a videographer, minimum of £500 a day. If you want to work with someone like me on top that's going to create it and direct it, you're looking at between 500 and 750 on top. So you're looking, if you want to really build a proper video marketing campaign that is professional and shiny and out there, you're looking at a budget between £1,250 and £1,500, maybe £2 a day, depending if you're bringing in actors. But 90% of people can create video content for free, but without even captioning it. They can transcript it. You can put it out as a social media blog. You can do all of this stuff for free, and it can be done on your mobile phone, and you don't have to overthink it, and you certainly don't need to learn a script. And it is a bugbear of mine where people go out there and tell everybody, you've got to do it this way. And I'm going to tell you now that Little Wheels didn't, and they are not seen on camera, and yet their TikTok is monetized. So well done, guys. Loved working with you. Really proud of what you've done. So that's my bugbear, is where people jump on and tell you how to do camera, how to go and speak and do video marketing and get it completely, I can't swear, get it completely wrong. And my favorite bit is this is where they go, I'm going to shout down the camera lens at you. And it really, really, as soon as I see it, I just get annoyed. So please, also the other thing with video marketing is know your audience. If you're not speaking and you're not selling to America, don't do an American video. Think about who you are actually speaking to. Think about who's going to work with you. Really put yourself in your audience shoes. But start by thinking about the end game, what your thumbnail title is going to be, what your title is going to be, and work backwards. And now I'm not going to post that video on YouTube because you asked me the question that I videoed this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't. It's really important to me. It's why I set up, because I got so annoyed, or why I brought in the video marketing side of the business, because I got so annoyed at people being told how to do it, but actually nobody really listening to somebody who is camera shy. Somebody who doesn't want to go on camera. You don't have to be seen. There are other ways, and get in touch because I will help you, but without the plug. But it really, really does. So yes, that is my bugbear, is somebody who tells you how you have to do this, because there's no such thing as have to.
I think also, kind of like you're saying about the professional shot videos, actually, if they're done overly professional, then that is also a put off for some audience members, right? As well, you know, we talk about authenticity, and you look at some of the videos with the highest engagement and that content that get engagement, and it's just someone openly and honestly talking down the camera at you versus this highly polished, you know, piece that they spent thousands on. It's all about the market and what you're aiming to do, I suppose.
Well, I think it's important. I mean, if you think about Instagram, you think about the sponsored adverts that come through. You're going through your feed and you see sponsored. How many times do you like that? Because I now know if I've liked something and it's sponsored, I will unlike it.
Mm-hmm.
If I've clicked something, like, oh, that's good, and then I've realised it's sponsored, I actually unlike it, because I'm a big thing about organic marketing, and unless it's really good and it's really rocking it and it really, I don't want to like it, because I know that they've got huge amounts of budget, and actually social media, and I know the big brands have to come onto it, I really do. But this is where the little guys can compete. So get off it.
It's just not that easy though, is it, these days? I mean, like, so it's not that easy on foot. Like you say, you're a big fan of the organic stuff, but you know, the algorithms out there to fight against you. You've really got to keep at it. Yeah, as we were saying, it's that consistency and not being defeated by the idea that you've only got a couple of comments or a few likes on it, because the right people are seeing it, and that's the important thing. I think it's the case of going, you know, who would you prefer, like an audience of 1 million, but you know, 5 of them are listening, or an audience of 500, but they're waiting on every word that you say? Like, that's the genuine people that you want to talk to, and they're your tribe, right? Those are the people you want to work with. Those are the people you're going to get the warm and fuzzies about. So stick with those cool cats. You don't need everyone else.
On that note, on that wonderful piece of advice, I'm going to end it, because that is exactly what I think we both believe.
100%. Mic drop. Boom.